Ancient Greece in the Hellenic period is vitally important to understanding today's architecture. Lots of what they invented for their society can still be seen today. Their emphasis on symmetry, their columns that can be found all over political and educational facilities, the amphitheater design, and the agora that encouraged public spaces and community. In this video, I will be discussing their housing, their public spaces, the religious spaces, and their furniture. The architecture was driven by many things going around in Greece. Lots of architectural advances were made when building temples to honor the gods, which were central to the city's identity. The development of democracy and democratic ideas encouraged the development of public spaces where policy and ideas could be discussed with the people it concerned. Success in war allowed for more expensive materials to be used, moving from wood and brick to marble and stone. The rise of intellectualism created the sense of importance when it came to symmetry and harmony, with concepts like the golden ratio evolving and created mathematically flawless buildings. Housing was designed to keep residents cool in the warm climate. The windows were high and short, covered by straw with no glass, and the floors were made of tile. The homes themselves were made of brick, mud, and wood, and this was all designed to keep the homes as cool as possible. The higher class homes had more rooms, floors, and artistic detailing like mosaics and frescoes, and most exteriors were relatively plain. The term oikos referred to the home and the family's property. The homes had a central courtyard that served as a living space and led to other rooms. The second floor would have a women's space, the gynecium, and the men's space, the andron, would be on this ground level. These spaces served to separate the sexes and give them privacy in their own space. The figure on the right shows the gynecium on the second floor with women practicing their crafts and talking to each other, and the andron on the first floor with the men discussing politics and doing their own manly thing. The furniture was relatively lacking in their homes, and they used chamber pots that would be emptied outside in public bathhouses. The most important public space was the agora. It was the public center for the citizens that fulfilled commercial, social, political, and religious needs. The agora had public buildings, stoas, and shops. And stoas are covered walkways or porticos. Buildings in the agora were not the white that we see today, but painted with color that eventually faded. Buildings used to be red, blue, green, yellow, and even purple, and modern imaging techniques allowed scientists to uncover these colors that we previously thought were unused. Another public space was the theater. The theater was used for religious ceremonies and entertainment. They invented the amphitheater, a Greek style of theater that is semicircular and took advantage of the natural slopes to place seating. The Greeks also invented the stadium, specifically used for foot races during sacred events, and it's where the first Olympic Games were held. The Greeks invented the gymnasium for physical and intellectual training. They were surrounded by colonnades with rooms for baths, changing, and lectures. Another public space was the boulaterion. It was a council house or town hall for public officials, and the krene, a public fountain used for free access to clean water. The people of ancient Greece worshipped a pantheon of gods who each had temples around Greece. Temples housed the deity it belonged to, often featuring a cult statue, and were attended to by priests and priestesses. There were temples all over ancient Greece and the surrounding areas, and some of them are listed below. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus is located in Turkey and was one of the wonders of the ancient world. It was a massive pilgrimage site that functioned as a safe haven, treasury, and place for gatherings and games. The Temple of Apollo at Delphi, Greece, was the sacred home of the Oracle of Delphi, a priestess blessed with prophetic visions. Delphi was seen as the center of the earth, and the temple was a sacred hub. The Temple of Zeus housed the massive statue of Zeus, the leader of the gods, in Olympia, near Olympus, the supposed home of the gods. Olympic athletes would devote themselves to the gods here before the games. The Temple of Athena Nike is the smallest temple at the Acropolis, used to honor the goddess of victory. It symbolizes Athenian military power, and the statue inside was wingless, symbolizing that victory would never abandon Athens. The Temple of Ares in Athens honored the god of war, where soldiers would pray before conflicts. The Temple of Poseidon at Sonion was a sanctuary for sailors and served as a coastal landmark as the god represented the sea. The temple was referenced in many myths, such as King Aegeus' suicide, leading to the naming of the Aegean Sea. The Temple of Hera Paestrum is located in Italy and is one of the oldest temples there. She was the goddess of fertility, and people would offer small statues of the female form to be asked to be blessed with fertility. Larger than temples were the sanctuaries. They were large sacred areas enclosed by stone or walls where worship took place. They would have several buildings, altars for sacrifice, temples, treasuries, and sacred groves. An important piece of ancient Greek architecture were the columns. This figure describes all the different pieces of the columns and what made each order different. As you can see, the main difference between the orders is the complexity of the capital, the uppermost part of the column that acts as the head, and the roof of the structure itself. These things varied from order to order. The Doric order was the earliest and simple Greek order, followed by the Ionic and the Corinthian order, which was the most ornate. An example of the Doric column can be found at the Parthenon, the Temple of Hephaestus, and the Temple to Apollo at Delphi. An example of the Ionic column can be found at the Temple of Athena Nike, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, and the Erechtheion. Examples of the Corinthian column can be found at the Temple of Apollo at Epicurus, the Choragic Monument of Lysicrates, and the Temple of Olympian Zeus at Athens. Most furniture concepts were borrowed from ancient Egypt and evolved into later Greek styles. The Greeks appreciated smooth lines and elegant curves. The shapes were relatively simple, and the homes weren't cluttered with furniture. The andron of the house contained kleinae, the beginning of couches, and they were used for lounging and sleeping. They were placed around the room with side tables and were used by all the men when they would yap to each other. Chairs evolved from ceremonial to casual use in this period as well. The ancient Greek people used the kylix, which were wide, bold drinking cups with horizontal handles. They also had the trapeza, a 3 or 4 legged table that was low to the ground. There are many decorative themes that can be seen all over Greek architecture. Some of these things include geometric patterns called meanders to decorate elements. They were meant to symbolize harmony and infinity. They also used a lot of floral detailing like the athemion, or stylized flower, and they were used particularly in the Corinthian order to add naturalistic beauty. Some decoration referenced mythological figures like Medusa that would adorn entrances to ward off evil spirits, or Dionysus that would be used to decorate places devoted to revelry and celebration. The Hellenic period brought a myriad of innovations to architecture and symbolized a move towards integrating mathematics into every building. From the home to the public sphere to the most sacred of places, the Greeks meant business when it came to building.